Coon Rapids police car. Of all the silly names for a town in the state of Iowa, Coon Rapids has got to take the cake. But she took off. According to police reports, she went through Coon Rapids, Perry, Dallas, Guthrie, and Greene counties, reportedly at speeds in excess of 110 miles per hour. This girl was on a mission from God. Police officers eventually used tire puncturing strips to disable and stop the stolen vehicle. Whoever the police officer was that left that car unattended, that police officer is just, is catching holy hell today. The 14-year-old was arrested on suspicion of first-degree theft of firearms, eluding, and several other traffic violations. I wonder if the judge in this case will make her pay some sort of restitution, which, of course, she'll never pay. That's another great scandal. Courts all over the country. Well, I'm sentencing you to, to time served. I know you were in jail 3 minutes, so, yeah, that's good enough. But we want you to pay $100,000 in restitution. Well, they never pay it. They never do. How many times have we seen people rip off others in our area? And especially if it's a woman, she'll cry all over the courtroom, and the judge, usually a man over 50, will say, well, darling, okay, just make a restitution and there'll be no jail time. And I mean, the woman might have stole thousands and thousands of dollars, embezzlement, whatever. Doesn't go to jail. Well, she was having a tough time. Tough time. That's a difference. That's gender discrimination. Most men would say that was gender discrimination. Because I'll tell you what, if a man did that, he could cry all he wants. He's going to the can. For a long time. He's going to sit in a cell for a long time, and nobody's going to feel sorry for him. But you get a woman in there with crying her eyes out. Well, I was having trouble with my marriage, so naturally I had to embezzle money and buy diamond earrings and bracelets and go to Florida on a trip. I tell you, it's gender discrimination. Men are the new oppressed class. That's right. Men are the new oppressed class. There you go. Absolutely. The University of Iowa doesn't even want to hear about white male applicants to their law schools or medical schools. They really don't. They're so into diversity and white liberal guilt. And of course, if there's a center for white liberal guilt in the state of Iowa, it would be Iowa City. The other college towns are, always have these people who never held a job in their life, but they have a professor before their name. So naturally, they can stroke their chin and say, well, we ought to feel guilty. So let's make sure there's enough white guys who can't get into a college because we feel guilty. So you need to pay the price. Because I'll tell you, the professors, they ain't paying the price. Their kids are going to top schools. You know that. If they qualify, they're in. But that same professor will turn right around and say, well, we must have diversity. And if that means a couple of the oppressors, some white kid from a poor neighborhood who was powerless, absolutely, but gets good grades, well, in that case, too bad. Too bad we're still giving the slot to somebody else. Maybe a rich white girl. Because, women have been oppressed. I could never really get that female oppression stuff. That was such a middle-class concept. I was around at the time, when Betty Friedan started writing about the oppression that women suffered. And, of course, there was a girl with the big hair and the glasses. God, Gloria Steinem. Other feminist writers in the 70s, they were complaining that they couldn't get good enough professional jobs. There were complaints of middle-class people, of upper middle-class people, of the upper middle-class professional class. Well, I couldn't get into this big law firm because I'm a woman. Well, that could have been true. That very well could have been true. But she got into another law school and did just as well. But that wasn't the point. After World War II, especially, women were the most privileged people on earth. Yes, they raised children. Is that a bad thing? Do you need a PhD to do that? No. You need character to do that. You need a selfless character to do something like that. And I don't blame women of that time because, again, I was around. I was a little kid. I was a teenager, young man. I was sometimes amazed at the patience and love and conviction that intelligent women gave to their children because they thought raising children and ensuring that the character of their children was of the highest caliber, that they were willing to sacrifice their professional lives to attain that goal. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, my hat is off to those women. My hat is off to those women. It's the Christian guy that lives inside of me, I guess. The one that rejects wealth in favor of personal relationships, which, by the way, is the hallmark of working class people. Let me say it. I think the virtues of the working class are superior to those of the professional class. Period. End of story. You don't want to hear it. You don't like it. You want to disagree. Fine. You can call me on the phone at 955-1400 and tell me how wrong I am, or you can shut the hell up. Either way, I'm good. Either way, I'm good. But no. The white people have had it so good thing. I got news for you. And some of you know this too. Life's a struggle for everybody. Life is a struggle for everybody. Were black people treated badly? Oh, horribly. Horribly. But I'll tell you, Bill Belichick refusing the Presidential Medal of Freedom isn't going to do anything for the cause. Bill Belichick refuses to take the Presidential Medal of Honor, or Medal of Freedom, rather, and all of a sudden, he's an icon. All of a sudden, there's spotlights on him on the top of a hill, looking rumpled and disheveled as he usually does. And he's turning down Trump's offer of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Hey, Bill, you want to do something? First of all, admit that it was Tom Brady. It was Tom Brady all those years. Without Brady, the Patriots were nothing. You know, you picked up Cam Newton, and Newton's a pretty good quarterback. You didn't know how to use him. You didn't know how to coach him. And look at the Patriots now. That's your great coaching ability. Hooray for you. It was Brady, Bill. And I don't even like to say that, but it's now obviously the truth. You know, Brady's kind of a little pain in the neck as far as I'm concerned. Brady seems like the rich kid that everybody beat up in school, you know. He tried to get to the top of the jungle gym or something, and guys would chase him up there anyway, you know. He just looks that way, but he has a tremendous talent and a great arm. Tremendous talent. But you can check out his character when he gets under pressure. He doesn't do well under pressure. As long as he had that great pocket of New England offensive linemen around him, he was great. And he had a couple of good receivers, of course. He was terrific. That pocket collapses like it has down at Tampa Bay, and Tom freaks out. Tom kind of loses it. He doesn't like to be sacked. He doesn't like to knock down that much. And who would blame him? Anyway, impeachment is once again in the air. I think we ought to look into impeaching city councilmen. Let's see, on the Board of Health, can we impeach anybody, or is that board? I'm just in an impeachment mood because, you know, somebody's got to pay for my guilty feelings. Someone has to pay because I feel guilt. I'm going to impersonate a white liberal now. I feel guilty, so I have to destroy someone's life so I'm validated. I'm going to take this white man and find something that he said 20 years ago that is now unmentionable by anybody. and I'm going to ruin his life. I'm going to call his employer. I'm going to get I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to get him fired, thrown out of his house, and that'll teach him not to mess with my tender feelings. It's appalling. It's an ugly thing to look at, but we've been living with it for 5 years now, at least. At least. Bill Belichick ought to take the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He's lucky and fortunate that it was offered to him. Turning down this stunt that Belichick has pulled means absolutely nothing. It will accomplish nothing, and next week, nobody will even remember he did it. He's made millions off Tom Brady, millions and millions of dollars. If he really feels guilty and wants to see the conversation about social justice move forward, as he said he did, he should get up off some of that cash. Start a couple of scholarships for minority kids in Boston area colleges. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be MIT. Start a scholarship at the City of New York. It's what is that? New York City College, whatever it is. It's a solid little college. It started a lot of minority people onto a solidly middle-class lifestyle. And about half the cost is the big universities in Massachusetts, like Harvard and Yale, would charge. So if Bill Belichick really wants to impress anybody, because I'm totally unimpressed by virtue signaling. I am totally unimpressed by Bill Belichick's virtue signaling. If he would like to do something impressive, start funding scholarships out of your own money. Come on. Quit sitting there. Don't start strutting around the locker room that you did this and, your players will applaud and all this. And, shut up, man. Do something real. And don't just drop a bunch of money and walk away. Stay with it. Ensure that your money is well spent. Visit the universities and the students that are benefiting from your largesse. Otherwise, shut up with us. I'm not going to take the Presidential Medal of Freedom. We will give it to somebody more deserving. And by the way, we should be able to find somebody more deserving than a football coach for the New England Patriots. Do you think we can do that? Yeah, sports is important in life. It's important in my life. But it's not life. It's entertainment. And guys like Belichick make it less entertaining. Guys like Belichick, some rumpled old white man, make it less entertaining. I don't know why the owners, I don't know if Robert Kraft, the guy that got caught in the massage parlor, I don't know if Robert Kraft still owns the team, if he's still alive or whatever. But he should get a little bit of a handle on this sort of empty statement, personal statement of whatever. Because Belichick he's totally, and people like Belichick are totally insincere. Facebook and Twitter have banned President Trump and other supporters from their social media sites. Now, I know there's a lot of applauding about that. I say that's way too much power for somebody like Mark Zuckerberg to have in his hands, or Jack, what's his name, that runs Twitter and founded Twitter. They're billionaires now, and apparently they can just do anything they want. Both Twitter and Facebook have claimed incitement to violence and hate speech. Who gets to make that definition of hate speech? Zuckerberg? Jack from Twitter? The Supreme Court held in a case called Norwood versus Harrison in 1973 that the government may not induce, encourage, or promote private persons to accomplish what it is constitutionally forbidden to accomplish. Now, that's what Congress did. That's what Congress did in support of the First Amendment. You really want to be told what you can say? Because I'll tell you what, none of those people in Washington really care what's good for you. That's one of the ugly things about our two-party system. You think Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer care any more than Donald Trump? I'll tell you, Donald Trump doesn't give a good damn, and neither do those two. So do you want them telling you what you can think, how you can act, how you can feel? Do you want Twitter and Facebook to have the power to silence you? No, I don't. Now, we need to revisit the issue of what constitutes hate speech. We do. There are provisions passed by Congress regarding free speech that prevent you from doing such things as yelling fire in a crowded theater. Now, that's pretty much what Donald Trump did Wednesday morning. And the consequences were disastrous. I mean, everybody in our country was horrified. We simply can't, and who would have ever thought that a president of the United States would do such a thing? So the Democrats, of course, all raised in privilege. Nancy Pelosi's dad was mayor of Baltimore, and she lived a privileged life. Even Bill Clinton, with his little stories of hope in Arkansas, don't let him kid you. He played golf at the local country club when he was in high school. He had his own car when he was in high school. He was doing fine when he was in high school. Don't let him give you this impoverished boy head and little old Hope, Arkansas nonsense. He graduated from Lincoln Central High School in Little Rock. It's all a bunch of nonsense. See, that's the other thing. The press has just got to dive into these things a little bit deeper. By the time Trump got here and the press tried to say something about Trump, nobody cared. Nobody cared. Because of Clinton, because of how many other political candidates that exaggerated their accomplishments or where they came from. We need to have respect for the truth. And we need to revisit hate speech. We need to revisit all of that because of Trump, really. 3 o'clock, KBFD 4 Dodge.
Your news, your town, your station. KBFD News when it breaks.
Condemning the violence at the Capitol, Lisa Brady, Fox News. For the second time today, President Trump is criticizing